opportunity to take advantage of the world that God created for us. He created a world that is filled with blessing, a world filled with amazing opportunity, a world filled with, options so that we can achieve our own unique greatness. This is not an accident. God creates a world that basically enables us to focus on the things that we want and need most. Now, what's interesting is that in this week's parasha, Parashat Balak, is an interesting one because it's named after someone who's a rasha, right? He's an evil guy. And the truth is that there are not that many parshiot in the Torah itself that is used to describe the name of the actual individual. So you have a parasha that is named after a guy who's an evil guy, and it makes no sense. Why would you name your parasha after a guy like Balak? Right? Who wants this guy? This guy's evil. He's a bad guy. As a matter of fact, the very little that we know about him is that he's Balak ben Tzipor. It's actually a fascinating story in the Midrash that his father actually invented flight, which is why he was called Tzipor. And, he was someone who was an innovator, a smart intellectual. And if you notice in Pasuk Bet, which is where the parasha begins, there is no mention of the fact that the Balak is king. It's only later, after Balak sees Vayar Balak, and he goes out and he sees. He sees what? He sees the wars that took place before, and he sees that Og Melech Bashan, the great king of Bashan, is wiped out by Moshe. And they're terrified. Imagine a group of people living in the desert for 38 years, right? And they're coming in closer to the land of Israel. Everyone knows the destination. There's no secrets over here. All the intelligent officers are coming back and making it super clear that these people are going into the land of Israel. They want Jerusalem as their capital. There's nothing hidden. Everything is open book. No hiding anything. And all of a sudden, you see that nation after nation that stands up against these people. 38 years ago, Egypt was the most powerful army on planet Earth. Gone, eviscerated by the Jews, actually by God, not by the Jews. And now they are coming for you. Balak sounds the alarms. He's freaking out. He's like, oh my gosh, we got to create a plan. Because he joins his people together, they work, they figure out this guy Balak is so important, we're going to appoint him king. He becomes king as a result of him. Bayar Balak, what he sees him, going ahead, he's a pole revere of Midian. He goes ahead and he sounds the alarm. He becomes the president of the people. He becomes the new king of the people. So he realizes that the Jewish people are a supernatural people. Right? There's no way you can beat an army that doesn't fight wars and the typical, strategies that an army would use against its opponents. So he says, you know what? Who's their leader? Oh, this guy named Moses, right? Moshe, right? So what is Moshe? Moshe is a prophet of God, and he is their spiritual connection to the other world. You know what we're going to do? We're going to fight against these people employing the same strategy. We're going to find a guy, someone by the name of Bil'am, right? And we're going to take Bil'am, and we're going to take Bil'am's power of prophecy and cursing and blessings. And we're going to use that to go ahead and stop the Jewish people in their tracks. I'm going to curse them. I'm going to hire a prophet to curse the Jewish people. If Moses represents the blessing, then Bil'am will hire, Balak will hire Bil'am, and together they will curse the Jewish people, and this will be the end of these pesky Jews. There's a story of, you may have heard this story before, of two Jews sitting in a cafe in Vienna. And one Jew has a newspaper that's a Jewish newspaper, and another Jew has another newspaper that's a Viennese newspaper. And the guy looks at the other and says, "If you read that stuff?" He's like, "You read that stuff?" He's like, "Yeah." He's like, "What are you reading about?" So the guy with the Jewish newspaper says, "I'm reading about how the Jews, there's a low birth rate, there's intermarriage. Doesn't look very good." So the other Jew says, that's exactly why I read the local non-Jewish newspaper. In the non-Jewish newspaper, it says how the Jews control the world, they control the banks. He's like, I want to hear good news. I don't want to hear bad news. I don't want to hear about how things are going bad, right? And, it's funny, you have a parasha named after this bad guy, and in this week's parasha, you have some of the most eloquent, beautiful pesukim that praise our people. It's so beautiful that I would blush even attempting to say these things. It's just beautiful. It's poetic. If you have not read the parasha, I recommend please getting any translation, read it. It's a fascinating parasha, fascinating subject. But we have to still ask the question, why would we name this parasha after this bad guy, after this rasha? Let's do a quick quiz over here for all my participants in Oxygen for the Soul. And if you're watching, think about this. Ready? What are the names of the 5 parashiot in the Torah that are named after a man? So we got this week's parasha. Korach, very good. What else?
Yitro,
excellent.
Korach, Balak, Pinchas.
Korach, Balak, Pinchas, very good. Who else? You're missing one. He was the first.
Noah.
Thank you. Noach, right? So you have Noach. So what's interesting is that there are a lot of parallels in this week's parasha with the characters in the parasha and the people that came before. So for example, we know that Bilam had this very nice relationship with his donkey. As a matter of fact, Midrash says it wasn't just a regular relationship with a donkey. He actually he legally married his donkey. He had an affair with his donkey. He knew his donkey. And, which is very different than Abraham. The first person to take his donkey, his chamor, was Abraham. But it says that Abraham was riding on top of the chamor, right? Whereas Balak was intimate, Bilam was intimate with his chamor. Now, what's the difference? This is the Maharal. Maharal says that the idea of a donkey in Judaism is also a metaphor for something else. The word chamor comes also the same word, same letters as chomer. Chomer means material. There's 2 concepts, chomer and surah. Chomer is material, surah is form. Like chomer would be the clay, and surah would be taking the clay and turning it into like a vessel. So we see the material world as a vessel, an object that we use, but we recognize it doesn't define who I am. It's an object is external for me. It's not me. And that was Abraham's approach. He was the source of bracha, Magen Abraham. There's the fact that he is the source. Yeh Baruch, you will be blessed, and anyone who you bless will bless you, and anyone who curse you will curse you. This is the blessing of Abraham. Bilam is also a prophet, a very different kind of prophet. He recognizes Bilam that he can't curse the people without God's blessing, which is kind of strange. So Bilam represents someone who is completely ensconced in materialism. He sees the material world in his own essence and being as the same. Whereas Abraham understood they're separate and different. There are similarities, according to the Arizal and Sefer Gilgulim, between Bilam, Balak, and Moshe, and Hevel, and Cain. Lots of interesting metaphors and parallels there, not an accident. The word for bracha in its source is made up of 3 letters, Bet Resh Chaf. I've said this before, also Maral. Bet Resh Chaf, Gematria is 222, or the greatest expression of 3 twos. Chut Mishulash, 3 is the beginning of all foundational things. So the word Barech means blessing, okay? And you amplify that blessing from that Bet. Now, it's interesting that Bilam and Balak, their names both start with a Bet, right? Now, Chachamim say if you remove the Bet, which is bracha, which is the word, the Torah itself begins with the word Bereshit, because God did not want to use the first letter Aleph because Arur, the name curses in there. It's a whole other fascinating conversation. But Bet represents blessing. So Balak and Bilam, if you remove the Bet from their names and you take the last 2 letters of their names, what word do you come up with? Anyone good at scrambling and unscrambling names or letters? You have Balak and Bilam, remove the bets, and you're left with Amalek.
Amalek.
That's right, Amalek. What is Amalek? Amalek represents Safek. Amalek is the first group of people that said, you know what? I recognize the Jewish people have this spiritual power. I recognize that these people are way beyond anything in the physical world. And because of that, we have to attack them. Rashi gives two examples of Amalek, and listen to them. It's fascinating because it sounds so familiar. I lived in Israel in 1998 to 2002, and you tell me the similarities. Ready? Amalek is compared to a bee. The bee goes ahead, it stings, and it dies. And the second example that is given for Amalek is someone who jumps into a hot cauldron just to cool it off. Both examples are examples of individuals that are willing to kill themselves for their beliefs. 1998 till 2002 was the Intifada, where you had suicide bombers blowing themselves up in Israel. I don't know if I can say this for sure, but I'd like to believe that this idea, Amalek, according to Rambam, is not a race. It doesn't mean that, oh, this guy, he's the ben achar ben, bat achar bat, the genetic makeup of Amaleki, and therefore he has the din of Amalek. But rather, if you have the philosophy of Amalek, you can be part of Amalek. And therefore, Amalek is an ideology. And that ideology is one that is anti-anything spiritual. Okay? Anything that is ruchani, we're willing to kill ourselves to get rid of it. That kind of evil has to be eradicated from the planet. Now, it's interesting. There are two people that come from Midian, and they both have an experience where they see something. You have Balak, and you have someone else. Who else saw something from Midian that changed his life when he looked at the Jewish people? Anyone remember? I'll give you a hint. He's one of the names of the 5 people that we mentioned earlier.
Yisro?
That's right, Yitro. What did Yitro see? Vaya Yitro. Yitro sees everything that happens to the Jewish people. What does Balak do? Balak also sees, but they're seeing two different things. Yitro is seeing how the Jewish people are transcending the physical reality and entering into a spiritual plane. And Balak sees it as a threat to his physical existence. He's entrapped by the world that he's living in. He's not willing to let go of any of it. He's not willing to let go. He wants the material world. He's not willing to give up the physical so that he could go ahead and entertain the possibility of this merger of two worlds. What is the merger of two worlds? Ready? As a Jew, our responsibility is to enjoy everything the planet offers us. You know, the Levies are sitting outside on their porches. They're enjoying the nice weather back there. It looks very comfortable. I wish I could be sitting there with you guys out in Deal. You know, they say, the Chachamim say that when we die, after 120, our soul comes up and God, one of the questions he asks is, did you go out and see the Alps? Did you go out and see the world that I created? So we could say in the last 2 years, last year and a half, we had excuses, COVID, we couldn't travel, but now that's, God willing, is fading away. Let's go and see the world again. Let's see the beautiful world that God created for us. Amazing opportunity, amazing reality where we can go ahead and achieve a level of greatness, achieve a level of clarity, achieve a level of appreciation of everything that God has created for us. Now, what's so interesting is that we believe in enjoying the physical world. I say this, and you've heard this again, Izzy will tell you this is true or not. How many times do I say, make money, make a lot of money, as much money as you can, so that you can give tzedakah, so you can help the people that need help, so you can help yourself achieve your own personal goals. We enjoy the physical world, but at the same time, we recognize that the whole purpose of the physical is so we can elevate it into something much more profound, something that is spiritual. How do we do that? It's the power of introspection. It's the power of prayer. Bil'am reminds us how powerful it is to go ahead and have a communication with the Almighty. How much of the world that we live in is a reflection of what we think is coming from me, my actions. I decide what is right and wrong. I will build my businesses. I will accomplish greatness. Me. Versus the recognition that I am a humble servant. I am someone who is part of a bigger, story that is being told, and I play a role. But everything that I do because I have to put my best foot forward. But at the same time, I recognize that my strength, my success is not determined by my actions, but rather by my effort. And regardless if I succeed or not, all God wants us to do is try. That's it. You know, I've married lots of couples. I just married my 203rd couple last week, Baruch Hashem. And
Wow.
yeah, it's crazy, right? And I meet with a lot of couples who don't come from a very strong religious background. And they often ask me, they say, Rabbi, like, how do you guys do it? You know, I don't get it. Like, you know, you're observant. You got to send your kids to synagogue, to yeshiva. You got to send your kids to Jewish camps. You eat kosher food. You have all these financial, you know, obstacles that get in the way of you owning the yacht. So I tell them, listen, I'm like, whether or not I get a yacht is irrelevant because I have my priorities straight. Before I get a yacht, I got to get a Porsche. So I say to them that I don't see it as an obstacle. I see my lifestyle as a Jew as an opportunity to grow and to become something more. It's not enough for me to have one income. It's not enough for me to go ahead and just do my little thing so I could just support myself and go home and have a 9-to-5 job. I don't do that. I hustle. I gotta figure out clever ways of being able to support the things that I do because I want to give my children everything. I want to be able to give charity. I want to be able to go ahead and make the world a better place. So I give over myself. I give my time. I give my resources, and I push myself as much as I can so that I can go ahead and provide my family the materialism that they need so they can achieve their spiritual heights. It's not about just materialism for the sake of materialism. That, my friends, is Amalek. Amalek brings Safek into the world. You know what brings Safek into our lives? You know what brings Safek into our lives? The material world. Is it about owning all the stuff around me? Or is it about something more? Is there something deeper in each of us? Rabbatai, think about it for a moment. The things that give us the most amount of doubt in this world is when we worry about our material life. Am I going to cut a corner? I'm going to leave Shachrit early because I got to make a deal. How do we create a balance in our lives with our spirituality? So what happens at the end of the parasha? Bilam realizes there's no way he's going to get the Jewish people. He's not going to curse them. He can't beat them. Because at the core of what we are, we're supernatural. We don't make any sense. My friends, on Sunday morning, you're going to wake up at 3:43. We're going to start Shiva Asar B'Tammuz, 3 weeks. We are talking about a people on planet Earth that have been mourning the loss of their temple for 1,900 years. A normal person, he goes ahead, he, God forbid, has a loss in his life. He sits Shiva, he has his 30 days, he's got his 1 year, and then eventually the pain subsides. You forget about it, you move on. You have these little moments. But for 1,900 years, we're mourning the loss of our temple. It's crazy. No one does that. Because we understood 1,900 years ago what was lost. That the only way you could go ahead and bring back this deep connection to the real world, not the fake, broken world that you and I are living in right now. This is not the way this is not the world God created. The real world God created was a world of perfection, a world where you recognize every single moment that you are a soul and not a body. You identified with the bigger parts of who you are, not the lower parts of who you are. The world's confused about what we are. And as Jews, we stand firm and we believe, we scream it out loud and we say, no, you, my friends, are not just a body, but you're a soul that has a body, not a body with a soul. Bilam says the way you get the people to sin, the way you beat these people is, you know how? Get them to forget about the sanctity, get them to forget about the spirituality. Let's put them in a place where we're going to get them to engage in the most vile, acts that you could get a man to be involved in. So what do? They go out, they get their own daughters, and they have them dressed up as harlots. So they could literally do gratuitous favors for these gentlemen and bring them down spiritually so they can destroy them. That's majnun. That's twisted. That's crazy. Can you imagine how perverted you had to be to get yourself to believe that? And then now have the people to give their daughters willingly to go out into the desert and to seduce these people? So what's our secret power? What's the superpower, my friends? The superpower is that we recognize that if you want to be ma'ala min hateva, you want to be more, you want to be above nature, you got to recognize that you're a spiritual being. And a spiritual being lives in a world of boundaries. He lives in a world where he's on a diet. It's called the kosher diet. Okay. He lives in a world where there's another spiritual diet called Shabbat, where you infuse 25 hours with Kiddushah, family, friends, synagogue, prayers, and awesome kibbeh, and some lahmacun, and whatever other kinds of mazah that like floats your boat. It doesn't matter. We want you to enjoy those things. I want it to be sweet. In my house, for my kids, growing up, I never ate cereal for breakfast. I had like a proper meal. I would have like, eggs, fish, salads. We were big breakfast people growing up. My wife grew up on cereals. So my kids, they want their Fruity Pebbles, the Cocoa Pebbles. So there are no sugar cereals during the week. We only give sugar cereals to our kids on Shabbat. Lichvod Shabbat, we say. You can have Fruity Pebbles, Lichvod Shabbat. You can have Cocoa Pebbles, Lichvod Shabbat. All the treats that I want to give my kids, I say it's Lichvod Shabbat. So there's an association between Shabbat and the things that they want. Why? Because I want them to have those sweet things, but I want it to be overlaid with something that is meaningful and spiritual. Marriage is a unique union between man and woman where everything is permissible between the two of them. But it's that commitment to one another that makes that relationship so special. It's what makes it holy, that they are committing to each other and prohibited to everyone else. The beautiful thing about our people is the homes that we build. You want to understand where the spiritual power of our people comes from. You want to understand why for 1900 years, we could literally be sitting here together, still talking about the same things about our ancestors from 3,500 years ago. It's because as Jews, we build homes. We build families. We understand that those things need to be nestled in something that is meaningful and spiritual. Bilam comes from a world of the opposite, a world of curses, a world of profanity, a world of illusion, right? A world of materialism. Whereas Moshe, who comes from a world, the same world, but overcomes that struggle, a man who is incapable of speaking properly, the worst guy for the job. You will hire a guy who stammers to be the one to teach the Jewish people God's law. Why would you do that? Why would you choose a guy? Because God understands that so much of our world comes from things that are most unexpected. Forget the guy who's 6'2", who has a master's degree in Harvard, and forget him. The little Jewish guy who doesn't have any degree, who sits and learns Gemara, just built himself an Amazon business, is making millions of dollars. Do you guys know that Lakewood, New Jersey, Lakewood has the highest amounts of Amazon millionaires in America? Zip code there. Is that crazy? A bunch of religious Orthodox Jews sitting and learning all day have built massive businesses for themselves. How do they do that? Because they recognize that you got to hustle, but the hustle doesn't mean ignoring the soul. It doesn't mean that we lose ourselves to the material. No, if anything, we elevate the material into the spiritual. If you want to understand what this perasha is about, this perasha is about the soul of being a Jew, the core of who we are. Read it, and I want you to think about what it means to be Jewish. And then I want you to take delight in the fact that you come from a group of people whose parents and grandparents and great-grandparents fought diligently to preserve this awesome chain of tradition that you and I have. And the most amazing thing is that we're all put in a position, my friends, to be a continuing link in this beautiful chain of people that have stood there and fought for the right set of morals and principles. We don't get distracted by the craziness of the culture wars that we live in. We're focused. My family, my wife, my children, my community, my synagogue, my yeshivot, my learning, my soul. This week's parasha is about understanding the soul of a Jew. You want to know what you're capable of doing? You're capable of doing anything you set your mind to. You're capable of reaching the highest heights of heaven, capable of achieving whatever it is that you want in this world, as long as you have it all focused in the right place. You're not a body. You're a soul that has a body. And the more you're able to recognize that unique greatness, the more you will see your life filled with bracha, filled with everything that you need to achieve greatness. People will try to curse you. Don't worry about it. their curses will turn to brachot. Anti-Semites are there to remind us that God is literally there behind everything, helping us achieve our unique mission. In this week's perasha, in the merit of this week's perasha, we should learn it in the zchut to find those people that are missing in Miami. Hashem should help those families overcome this great challenge. So many Jews were lost over there. It's really sad. Please say some Tehillim for them. Make sure that you are able to appreciate the family and the time we have together. Enjoy your Shabbat. Enjoy the parasha. May we live a life of true blessing and never be afraid of the curses, because, my friends, you and I, we are the children of the big man in the sky. Wishing you all lots of love and a Shabbat Shalom Baruch. You should have a meaningful fast on Sunday. Looking forward to seeing you guys together in person soon. Thank you so much, everybody.
Thank you.